Our first guest, John Jerit, began American Paper Optics back in 1990. He started from scratch with it. American Paper Optics is the world's largest manufacturer of paper 3D eyewear. That's no small accomplishment considering the downward competition he's got to have, and it's incredible. But it's also makes sense that he was named Small Business Executive of the Year in 1998 by the Memphis Business Journal. The company has done over 2 billion 3D glasses. In November '99, he was mentioned in Entrepreneur magazine, which makes he was selected as one of the nation's outstanding small businessmen. You can't get better quality. The reason he stayed around was because of quality. We're going to take you on a tour along with Ron Labbe.
Well, I just wanted to mention that we're going to see images that I shot, as well as images that David Clutho shot. And of course, he's a professional, and he came in with 2 Nikon D700s that were synced with a flash wizard. So you'll see the difference between just, sort of grab shots, snapshots with a W3 with a wide angle adapter that you're going to see at first. And then you'll see David's shot.
Okay, John, could you explain this process, please?
This is to make a pair of glasses. It's basically a 5-step process. First, you print the sheet, then you cut the eye holes. And if you see the eye holes there's 68 eye holes, 34 on each side. So this will produce 17 finished glasses. And so we have precision die cutting that's done in advance of this. That sheet is going to go through this gluing apparatus. We call it the Gladiator. So you're seeing the very beginning of the process there, and the sheet, which is large, it's 25 by 38, is going to run through that sheet, and it's going through there. And to the left of the machine, you see there's a pot of white glue. That sheet is going to run under that pot of glue. We've got to get just a tiny bit of glue around each of the 34 eyes. There you can see there's a glue pad on that cylinder, and it just touches the glue and lays that glue down just around the edge of the eye. Think of it as like mascara, glue mascara. Got to go through there, and it runs through. The sheets are going at about 3,000 sheets an hour. And here it's getting ready to approach the part. Got glue around the eye on one side, in the shot it's closest to you, and it's going to this big vacuum cylinder, and the vacuum cylinder is, as you can see, it's got a strip of red and a strip of blue film. So you can see there the operator's got the red and blue films up there coming off, timed with that sheet of paper, and every 24 inches they're cut. The sheet's 24 inches, just over 24 inches. They're cutting it, and its vacuum cylinder is holding that red and blue film on there. When it hits, the paper hits it, the vacuum releases, and it falls over that little tiny bit of glue. So the key to making a pair of 3D glasses, you have to get glue on both sides of the sheet. So there's the glue.
A quick question on those on the film. How did you determine the right wave or the right color material?
Well, for our anaglyph glasses, which we've been selling for a long time under the brand name IYF 3D, In Your Face 3D. When I first started in the business, there was a lot more red blue, some red green. I think Gerald Marks, who's a great 3D person, did a lot of red green. There was other people who did red blue. I went out to some of the best 3D experts, David and Susan, David Berter, Ron Labbe, there's several others. This is when I was really new in my career in the early 90s. And I sent them out a blind test of 6 different color combinations and kind of took the majority pick of them. And so the red we make domestically in the U.S., the red filter, the cyan, is a special formulation that we get made by Lee Filter in the U.K. So we've been selling that same red cyan combination successfully for a long time. And I know a lot of the best photographers and stereo aficionados really love our color combination. I've not switched it. It's more expensive. It's more difficult to do. Actually, 2 films are actually two different thicknesses. So it's very unusual.
When something was published in printing, how do they coordinate with you in order to make the printing most active in terms of the 3D response?
Well, they know the filters in the front end, so they can do their own coordination. Ron can probably attest to that because he really liked these filters. He wanted them when he was doing and helping with the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues. Ron, do you want to tell them about how you feel about color?
Well, yeah, it all has to do with getting down to the print process. And you've set everything up in Photoshop in CMYK. Well, first you have to do it in RGB, but then it has to go to CMYK to go on the printing press. And that's the most crucial step, is the conversion from RGB to CMYK. And so you send a color profile, and hopefully the printer can access that color profile and do the conversion that's specific to the colors on his press. And it's not an easy thing. But if the initial colors are set up right in RGB, it should translate well. And the closer they can come to that original RGB, the better it's going to look. There's always going to be some ghosting, but there are ways to mitigate that in Photoshop as well.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, John, what is this now? Where are we now?
All right, so we've already had the sheet go through, the little bit of glue, the film has been laid down. You can't see it, but it's in the far left of the shot. And then if you look back to the back far right corner of this photograph, the vacuum cylinder is there, and there's a top coater. So the sheet closest to us on the right has been now completely, finely, nicely coated with glue, all automatically, and it's run through a machine. It's just perfectly spread the glue on there, but not so much that it would seep out into the eye holes and make a mess, because then the next sheet would stick on it. So then you're seeing at the end of this photograph the beginning of the sheet being folded over. It's being automatically pushed over. What we've done is we've taken and added the back end of a folder gluer that would make box cartons and folding cartons. So what you've got there is that's going to push that sheet over. It's unusual because it's a big sheet and it's lightweight. It's 10-point board. So you see it, and then the next shot, you'll see that it has been folded over. So there it's pushed it over. Remember, it's 3,000 sheets an hour, 17 glasses. That's 50,000 glasses an hour. An 8-hour day, that's 400,000 glasses. So we're having a good time there. Sheet's going through it, and then it's got to go to the next step. And it's come through a squeegee, or there's a shot in between where this guy's holding it or not. Once again, beautiful 3D on the photo. Coming through, and it goes through a squeegee, and it's pressing it together. It's just making sure. He's pulled it out just before it's come to the squeegee. He's just checking to make sure there's no glue droplets, and that the lenses have completely and properly covered over the eyes. If the thing walks a little bit, then you have a problem. So anyway, so you get
now
that. So
a quick question. Yep.
We've cut it. We've printed it, cut it. We put the lenses in. The next step, I don't know if there's another photo or not. Is there, John? No. So the next step in making a pair of glasses, that you die cut the perimeter shape. In this case, it's a handheld viewer. So there's 34 on this sheet versus the typical 17 glasses. Got a finished sheet there with 34 handheld viewers, and we cut that perimeter shape out, and you strip them out, and you got a finished product ready to ship.
Now, are we looking at a couple of questions for you? Yeah, we see is that one big long machine?
55 feet long.
Wow. Now, you also do polarized, right?
Yeah, we make both linear and circular polarized glasses.
Now, how do you test? I know someone's got to test this, because the red and the red and the cyan seem like they won't need much of a test other than making sure they print it properly. But how do you test the Polaroid? I mean the polarized.
Polarized glasses, we have to make all those by hand, because the film is, one, it's too thick versus 2 mil polyester film. The linear polarized is 7 mil, and the circular is closer to 10. And so those glasses are all made by hand, which cut the film on a 45-degree angle in each case. It's a little different for circular than linear. And so when we're making those glasses, we lay down a strip. So just think of the equipment, only it's just laborers laying down a strip, same thing, 17 glasses. And when the sheet's in this position here, you hold it up and you look at a stereo jet back in the shop. We could have a TV running if we wanted. But so I've got some old, great stereo jets that have some great shots in them. I know some are shots that Peterson Klayer did, and also some from oh gosh, I just saw his name the other day, Simon Bell. So we've got some great stereo back there. So you instantly hold it up and you know it. And we have some that are linear and circular stereo jets.
I guess now with with what's going on, you're getting more of a demand for the paper glasses.
There's a little bit of talk. We supply a lot of theme parks. One of the few products that we do import is a plastic theme park style linear and circular. We sell those all over the world, and we've had a number of theme parks in smaller places like Legolands, like other amusement park rides and attractions, who said, we might need to go paper because there's going to be some pushback on the sanitization of the plastic glasses. In the old days, we sold lots of paper and very little plastic. We sold 45 million Eclipse glasses for the 2017 total solar eclipse. We just did a couple of million for the July eclipse in South America, primarily in Chile. And then there's another one coming up December 14th, I think, in Chile 2020. We've already shipped quite a bit of inventory down there, but they're kind of on a COVID-19 shutdown there in South America also. So we're not moving a lot of product. We're not getting a lot of inquiries.
I love the fact that your business rises and falls with the sun. It's just, I just love the fact that you're rooting the moon on.
Yeah. Make hay while the sun is shining.
I like all of it. You must be tired of all of those jokes. Ron, one quick question for you while you're on. Could you explain a stereo jet? Maybe everyone doesn't understand it, or not everyone has seen a stereo jet. Do you feel comfortable just explaining it quickly?
Stereo jet is the newest version of what used to be called a vectograph, which was mostly black and white. But it has to do with a substrate and then a layer of polarization sheet on each side stretched oppositely, and then you have to put the ink on each side of the substrate. So it involves using a very special printer that is able to register the one image after you've printed it, because the second image has to register perfectly. So unfortunately, stereo jets have been discontinued for the last maybe 5 or 6 years. It was a promising technology, but not enough sales to warrant the special manufacture of it. Very difficult to make them.
And so the experience, if anyone hasn't seen a stereo jet,
well, it's like a projected 3D image, and you can also instead of reflective, you can also have it as a transparency, which actually looks better than the reflected ones.
Thank you very much, Ron. And John?
30-year anniversary. We're celebrating 30 years and nearly 3 billion glasses. This has been fun, John.
Oh.
Back. So.
Now, but nonetheless, this is an automation device. You can see the band in the background. That's the stage, and I'll go to the next shot. So those triangular things are controlled by that young man with the headphones in the lower right-hand corner with what you just saw. What they do is they drop down and they surround the entertainer, and it wouldn't be able to be done with older technology only because he would be fried to a crisp. So those are all the LED lights shining on the young man. I went to Times Square quick, and this is what Times Square looks like right now. It's pretty empty, no cars, very few folks. Some people have masks on. I had a mask on, of course, and I was basically in a shuttlecraft from the main mothership. So I was very empty Times Square. And this is again another shot. You could see him in the corner over there, and it's just an empty Times Square. And there's a sign right there which usually directs crowds. You'd be pushed away. But right now it's completely empty, and it will return. I'll tell you one great experience. I could hear that sax player echo off the walls. That's not going to happen often. And basically no cars, no people, and you could just hear this great echo of the saxophone. Carlton's been doing 3D work since the early 1980s when he discovered that the Polaroid SX70 photos fit perfectly into a classic handheld Holmes 3D viewer. He's now using various digital 3D cameras and then using video editing programs to modify the 3D images in experimental ways. And he does really interesting work. And we always appreciate what he does at our meetings. Take it away, Mr. Bright.
Hi, good evening or afternoon. It's called the massive asphalt cutter. Another word for it is the giant riding asphalt saw. And another one is called the rock wheel, or another one is the trenching machine. This wheel is about 6 or 8 feet high. You see them on the streets, at least in New York, and they literally chew up the asphalt. This is looking down on the teeth. I was very taken by this primitive dinosaur likeness of it. It's humongous, it's crude. There's also a strange feeling when it's not being used, of being like a fossil type thing. The next photo actually can give you more of that sense. This almost looks like some kind of ancient finding that finally saw the light of day. And it lends itself to 3D, I think. Shot from this angle, it has like this almost like noble arc to it. And it just feels almost like a celestial shot of some sort. I think with some filters, something can be done with it. By the way, these were shot maybe 8-10 years ago. I found this in my library. I'm not sure if they even still make or use it, but it's vertical. It sits on a machine that literally looks like a bandsaw. And it reaches the height of your head. That just this blade, it's literally like a saw blade. And this is a very tiny part. It's at the very top of it, as it was sitting on the street in my neighborhood.
How'd you get the shot? Would you get on something to get the shot, or would you crop it?
I think I held this up above my head to get this. I document a lot of different installations. In fact, that's what I started 3D doing, because I felt that artwork could be, it's a tragedy when these big installations get moved on and they're up for a couple months and then no one really knows the feeling of being around these pieces. Anyway, this piece was called, this is by an artist named Roxy Payne, and it's called Distillation. That's the name of this piece. Again, this was back in December 2010. It was in a gallery show for a couple months at the James Cohen Gallery in Chelsea. I just wanted to read, here's a paragraph on his work. Over the past 25 years, Payne's sculptures ruminate upon the clash of the human and the natural worlds, and the warring of chaos and control that results from humanity's attempts to manage the process. Fusing organic forms such as trees, flowers, and fungi with man-made structures and materials, among which include stainless steel, epoxy, and polymer, Payne invents, distorts, surprises, and confounds our perception of the natural and inorganic and the real and the artificial. So that's kind of a description of the work. And it's extremely well technically done. This is stainless steel welded. And this is called distillation. And you can see on the left-hand side in the dark area, there's a vertical column there. That's actually a cylinder that shows a distillation. It's like there's a spigot at the bottom. So this is like a organic distillation machine. It suggests that. And it is really amazing to walk around among and under it, because it has, you literally feel like you're in this organic machine-y type thing. The topic was machines, and Roxy Payne actually specializes in machines. So this is a show a couple years later. This is at a different gallery at the, I can't pronounce her name. I can't pronounce her name right. Anyway, this show is called Denuded Lens. And this piece, actually, there were several pieces in it. And this is one of the wide shots I have. I can't find my close-ups. I got detail shots of all the, if you can zoom in, something of scientific industrial apparatus with exposed tubing and non-consumer interfaces that call to mind Payne's own art-making machines. A central irony of the current sculptures is that many viewers will assume they are simply spit out of a 3D scan like the ready-mades now ubiquitous in our lives. But if you look closely, you can decipher the hand and the machine of Payne's sculpting. This is out of pure wood, and it's sculpted out of wood. It's not made from a 3D machine. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
it's impeccable, and it's kind of unnerving because it's so.
Now, what did you shoot it with, by the way?
I think these were the Sony RX2s back. Oh, this is 2014. No, these had to be these Canons. This had to be either Pentax or Canons. Canon H280s, I think.
Now, how did you pick the camera spacing? Did you just decide that, you know?
By the makeup of the cameras, they when they were butted next to each other, they made about 3.5 to 4 inches distance.
Got it. Well, thank you very much once again. He's part of the NYSA board, and he brings his VR equipment to every meeting and shares his experience and talent with everyone. His travels through his profession as a theater musician and consultant have brought him to places far and wide, and I know you'll enjoy his work as much as we do. Take it away, Jim.
Hi, everyone. So for the topic of machines, this image came to mind. Joe Pedotto, in his amazing presentation on Betty Page, was talking about the tradition of the camera clubs. And that tradition has somewhat lingered on into the present day. There are what are called pinup clubs in New York and some other cities, which are sort of more nostalgic, kind of trying to recreate the glamour photography of the 50s. And this was a shot at one of their garage shoots. I used a twin Samsung NX1000s. Those for me are what I call a point and swear camera rig. But when they do work, they do really nice shots. This shot I took with a Panasonic 3D1, which I can tell just because I can get pretty close without a lot of deviation. This is a drum kit I played on for a little tour of the Broadway show Aida that was in Taiwan back in 2012. And you can see this pad in between the three cymbals. It's called an octapad. It lets you trigger different sampled sounds with every, hit each pad, you can get a different sound. And very often for theater, you need a lot more sounds than you can get just from a regular drum kit. And you can also see I have a shaker and a variety of sticks. So you get all kinds of machines when you're playing for theater, or at least back when we used to do that. All right, so these are the famous and very hard to find 3D World carousel medium format viewers. 3D World, they're the company.
Stand by 1 second. Could you find out who's doing that? Dave?
I'm usually the person muting mics, and so figures when I get on, someone's going to get on here without a muted mic.
Thank you. Begin again, please.
Someone knew they could get away with that. Anyway, these are the carousel viewers 3D World was selling at the time. They were selling the TL120 medium format camera. I was in Shanghai with a show in January, and there's one of the tourist attractions in Shanghai is called the Shanghai Sightseeing Tunnel. It goes between the Bund, which is this riverside area famous for the beautiful skyline, and it goes over to the Pearl Tower, which is the goofy-looking TV tower with the ball you always see in pictures of Shanghai. So I was very surprised. 3D World was a Shanghai-based company. These viewers, I think, were made, gosh, I probably have it wrong, but in the late 1990s. They really haven't been seen in quite a while. So I was startled when I went down to the entrance to the Shanghai Sightseeing Tunnel and saw this group of viewers still working. For a 1 yuan coin, you could see a series of 10 slides of Chinese scenery. And I tried a bunch of the viewers. I was kind of having fun with trying to photograph it through the lenses. I was very curious to see how they worked. They worked fine. The images were a little dusty, but this was the same set of images 3D World. They used to sell slides. And there were this group of them on one side, and then on the other side of the tunnel as well, when you got to the Pearl Tower, there was another group of these things. And I had the feeling I might have been one of the first people in years to actually use them, but they were there and working.
It seems you really have to be either short or determined to look at 3D, because I could see the stanchion in the corner there. It's about the size, just for scale. So these things had to be, unless they made them for kids, the theory or something like that. Maybe that was the theory.
Yeah, I did have to kneel down a little bit to look in there, but it was well worth it. Really fun. And I know this was part of 3D World's business plan, is that they thought people around the world would cheerfully pay to see, high quality medium format images and viewers at tourist attractions. And they managed to sell these guys in their hometown on the idea.
Okay. And we're all off to the next one, I believe. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is another shot I did with the New York Pinup Club. This was at the wonderful Air Power Museum in Long Island, which has wonderful airplanes and other materials, mostly from World War II. Now, I shot this with the Insta360 Evo, which is, when you have the lenses side by side, is a VR180 camera. And what you get out of the camera, if you go through their software to process the images, when you get a JPEG, it'll be two squares. Quite distorted, which is what you need to view VR180. Through a VR headset, if you look at this image, you don't see the distortion of the fisheye lens. You see straight lines, and it seems quite realistic. I discovered while playing with the camera, the images that come out of the Evo camera have a .insp suffix. That's their own proprietary format. I discovered, however, that if you change that to a .jpeg, this is what you get. You get a pair of fisheye images, because the camera is shooting fisheye. So I've had quite a lot of fun with the fact that I can now take this one camera and shoot VR180, or I can use it as a stereo fisheye camera.
Excellent. That's a great shot. It plays very well into the fisheye. It's just
and what's
the way it was posed, and it was great.
As you're looking at the fisheye, you're seeing all the detail, all the image information you'd see in the VR180 format. It's just that you would have to look. Someone's asking what camera. This is the Insta360 Evo. It's a tiny little camera, and it's one of the ones that you can fold and then shoot a 360 or have it straight and shoot VR 180. VR 180 is a format, it lets you look through VR goggles, but you're only seeing half the hemisphere. You don't have to spin your chair around. I think it's quite a wonderful format. I hope we'll see more. I think that's the format people should be using for simulcasting concerts. I seem to be the only one who thinks that, but anyway. It's a
Well, I will say this, nice fuselage.
And I think this is my last shot. I couldn't believe we could possibly have a machine theme without having the Starship Enterprise make an appearance. This is a shot I took with twin Sony V3s. I did this some years ago. And I made a little mirror rig where I basically just put two front surface mirrors on a block and pointed the cameras at the mirrors. This was my darling cat Gracie, who was always very understanding about photographic experiments. And in terms of the little ship model, it's not Photoshopped. This was this very detailed little steel ship model. I think I got it in Japan, but the detail on it was amazing. So I always wanted to try to find little macro experiments I could do with it. And that's it for me. Thanks, everyone.
Alan Huberty is a member of the Detroit Stereoscopic Society. He's been involved in 3D just, I guess, a few years now. He's the, let me give you a little bit of his bio. He used to work at Ford Motor Company for 32 years. His hobbies, besides 3D, are N-scale model, railroading, and things that would bring you into really good 3D views. He's on the board of the directors for the Skyline Camp and Retreat Center, which is a summer camp for differently abled youth and adults, as well as traditional campers, which goes to show you that people in 3D are, to a person I've met, kind and wonderful individuals. He's basically a snap shooter with a W3, and he works with Stereo Photomaker, which is basically what I'm using right now to show you all these great images. Take it away, Alan.
Okay, well, this is, just to let you know, I've been in stereo since I went back and looked in my pictures since 1997, so longer than I expected. So anyway, so about 23 years. This is an antique P-51 Mustang that I took a picture of it at the 2016 Air Adventure in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is a large gathering of all types of personal airplanes, military. I think they say about 10,000 different planes, all in one huge area. It's quite a place. And so the EAA is the Experimental Aircraft Association, which sponsors it.
Alan, do they fly those in, or a majority flown in?
Yeah, it's
okay.
During the week, it's the busiest airport in the world as far as arrivals and departures. They've got more people coming in and leaving than any other airport for a week. This is the, there were many different engines used in the P-51. This is the Wright Cyclone radial engine that was used in P-51s, and it is at the EAA museum that's in Oshkosh. And this is a sawmill, one of those at a historic village called Crossroads Village in Flint, Michigan. Just a fun perspective.
Well, that was one of the planes crashing, was it?
Not mine.
There we go. Okay. Continue. I'm sorry for interfering. I felt like I had to.
That's okay. The next slide. This was just a fun shot. This was in the summer parade. They had the dry sense of humor to put a snowplow in the middle of a nice summer parade so that we could all wince. But it was a cool machine, so I thought it was worthy of seeing it.
And that was again, you're shooting with a W3 generally?
Yeah, as I said, I'm just basically a snapshot shooter. I shoot for the memories.
And what were you shooting with the 97?
Twin disposables, and I went with I would get the prints, and then I would use one of those over under
Yep.
or side by side viewers. This picture is the cab of a steam engine, a 1941 Chesapeake and Ohio Allegheny 2666, which is a wheel arrangement. Two to pilot and 6 driving wheels, another 6 driving wheels, and then 6 under the trailing truck. The engine and tender weigh 1.2 million pounds, so it's no lightweight, and it generates 7,500 horsepower. And this is located at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan.
What would this be pulling, by the way?
Coal.
Coal.
This was Allegheny Mountains, is why it was named that, because it was very prevalent in the Alleghenies. Of course, the Alleghenies go from down south all the way up into Canada.
What's that big turn in Pennsylvania? What is that big
Horseshoe curve.
Yeah, what is that called? What is it?
Horseshoe curve.
Yeah, that people go there just to take images, right? To
Right.
wait around. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's near Altoona.
Altoona, that's it. Altoona. I've been there on my motorcycle. I that was responsible for me getting through the Poconos way too late, as a matter of fact, because I spent too much time there. It was cold going through the Poconos.
So,
That was great. Yeah, thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for doing that. William Klayer, he's a New Yorker. Since he's been living and working in New York since '79. East Village is '81. And he's in the film business, strictly an amateur 3D photographer like we all are. He came to New York because growing up, and he came to New York and he found in his drawer, in his house there, he had found 10 realist slides, but no viewer. And when he came to New York, he got hold of a viewer and then picked up a camera. And you'll explain your pictures better than I just explained you, but I have some interesting comments to make as he goes through these shots. Sorry for the kind of bumpy introduction, but William, your images are great. Take it away, please.
Thanks. I just say hi, Dave Ross. Someone just texted me and said hi, because apparently I've worked with them before. Dave, yes. Anyway, thanks, John. This is just I just would walk around the city and play with the camera. This one fit 2 things. It had a bike in it, which is a machine, and you got the World Trade Center there in the deep background. So I couldn't pass that one up. Sharing that one. This is in Paris, of all places. I was in Paris. I guess this was 2003, and there's a big exhibition center outside the city a little bit. That I walked by, and lo and behold, there was a submarine up on blocks.
It's great. When I first looked at this picture, I thought it looked like it was something out of Brooklyn, like it was in a backyard in Brooklyn. It gave me that feeling that
there probably is one in the backyard in Brooklyn somewhere, John. But
well, you know what that deserves. So yes, and
this is from I have a roll that I took with some friends, and I went down to the Jersey Shore one weekend and went to all the little towns that have the amusement parks. And I can't remember which town this is, but it had this little great old tram running along the whole length of the boardwalk. It was great. It was one of those great summer days where a lot of fun that day, and some good stereo pictures out of it.
You sent me this one, and I just loved the shot.
So this is the one that John was talking about. When I was growing up as a kid, my house, there were these handful of stereo slides in a drawer that were taken by my great aunt, who was actually in the Air Force. She was one of the first women officers in the Air Force, Mary Bell, and these were sitting in a drawer. And like John said, I took them with me when at one point in my life, and then got hold of a viewer, and that's my father holding me as a baby.
I love that shot. It reminds me why I'm taking the shots I'm taking. It's wonderful. It's a great, wonderful, wonderful shot. It's really, it's full of emotion. I love the fact I'm talking to that baby, as a matter of fact.
William, were these all taken with the stereo realist?
Yes. Yeah, I assumed this one was a realist from the date, you know, because I was born in 55.
Different camera though.
So
Like a
I'll
different-
let others guess what camera she might have used. And then here's the Dragon Coaster out in Rye Playland in Westchester, which I grew up when later as I grew up, I ended up as a kid. I used to live in Rye, so I used to go to this amusement park when I was a little kid, and then I went back with a friend, and we spent the day there, and I brought the realist and got some fun pictures there.
Is that roller coaster still there?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's still one of, I mean, I'm not a big roller coaster guy, but it, you know, because it's an old wooden roller coaster, and to me, those are always the best.
Is Gerald Marks, also a member and on the board of the New York Stereoscopic Association. He's been an artist specializing stereoscopic 3D since about 1972 with a love for anaglyph, and he does great, wonderful anaglyphs. He's been creating his Professor Pulfrich's universe shadow rooms in museums around the world, starting with his first installation, San Francisco's Exploratorium in 1977. 87, he was visiting scholar at the MIT Media Lab, where he had headed up a team in producing the computer-generated hologram, One Particular Wave. He's probably best known for 3D music videos done back in the 80s with the Stones on the 1980 to 1990 Steel Wheels tour. And he retired just recently from the School of Visual Arts, and is another great mischief maker. I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna hand it over to Jerry right now.
So
Perfect.
here we go. In May of 2011, I think I had my first Fujifilm 3D digital camera. Maybe it was even the one. It wasn't the W3, it was the W1, I think. And all of a sudden, I look out my window and they are shooting Amazing Spider-Man. And the funny thing is, shooting for that film had been completed in around Easter time, and they went back to shoot additional shots, which they didn't seem to use in the movie, but they did an enormous amount of shooting right out my window. I have a second floor loft with window right out onto the street. And so I'm looking straight out the window and taking these pictures of Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker and Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. And but there are some remarkable machines here. There's some real beauties. The first is all the way on the left. You will see the camera, which is two red cameras. They're not red in color. Red is the name of the camera. And they are designed to bolt together to make a 3D camera. So it's a very good 3D camera rig. And they used it very well. Also, you will see that Spider-Man and the lady are running through the streets of New York with rocks flying through the air, and they're running over rocks, and she is barefoot. It's amazing. But the rocks are made of torn foam rubber. And I might add that in my Rolling Stones videos, at one point, Mick Jagger is surrounded by flying rocks, and they're made out of foam that gets torn into rock shapes, and then we painted it and all the way on the left, you'll see a funnel. On the lower left, you'll see what's called a mortar, which is a machine that is designed to fire the rocks into the air. And I just might add that Emma Stone is running barefoot, And you can see, thanks to 3D, that she is entirely off the air, you know, off the ground. She is running and flying. It's really an amazing thing. And right behind her,
Oops.
whoops, don't go. Oh, right behind her, there's a woman in black who, in between takes, has to reset Emma's hair to perfection. So 1 second back in this film, Emma's hair was set perfectly, and then it had a chance to go wild. Okay, next picture. And this is the window of the late store Barney's, the great men's store. And I many times in my life, I have bought dress-up clothing there. And so here for Chanel, in the window of Barney's, they have a car that is a little reminiscent of the car at the 1939-1940 World's Fair. And the car that was shown at that World's Fair, newlyweds Grace and Morris Marks saw that film in 3D, and they went home and they did what newlyweds are supposed to do. And 9 months later, I came out, and that was why I do 3D now. Okay, next. Here's another car that I think might be useful for everyone to see. This is the Google Street View car. And besides taking a panoramic image all around the car, there is also a LiDAR, a Velodyne LiDAR that looks like, under the cameras, it looks like a hockey puck, and it's called the puck. And it images using lasers and produces an actual map. And John, after seeing this picture, recognized it and sent me the name of the puck LiDAR camera. Okay, next. And here we are in the prow of the Flatiron Building, looking north. So, so there you go. It was always a favorite of mine. A lot of my earliest, best photos using the Fuji cameras. Oh, and even using my Revere stereo many, many years ago were taken from roller skates or roller blades.
We're on to the last shot, and I think now with the motorcycle and the bicycle.
Yes, well, I knew you would love that, and I knew there are others who would love seeing the bikes. And I walk to the river often, even now. I'll probably do it later this afternoon. And parked along the West Side Highway, there are often really nice bikes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot. Reminds me, time to get out there. Oh, we're back around. Thank you once again, Jerry. That was
you're so welcome.
a lot of fun. I keep thinking these are going to take 30 minutes, and that was an hour, but a wonderful hour and 15 minutes. I'm not rushing anybody, and it's a lot of fun.